He's no Jedi.
Everybody, it's your boy Glenn Webman, 69, back with another episode of Action Figure Evolution. This follows on from the last one, which was Marvel's The Blob, where I take a look at various depictions of a particular character over the years in action figure form. Here, not a completely different toy universe from The Blob, but connected in a way. It's, of course, Jabba the Hutt. And did you ever see so many Jabbas gathered in one place? So here we have him, the Jabba the Hutt playset from the original Return of the Jedi, released in 1983, 27 years ago. And even though, as we saw in the previous shot, there have been many incarnations of Jabba over the years in action figure form, after this came out we would have to wait a full 27 years until we got another complete playset, as we see here. And surprisingly, even though it's 27 years old, the sculpt in here really does hold up, as I'm sure you will agree with me as I show off some of the more recent Jabbas. This Jabba, the sculpting in him, is actually superior to at least two of the other Jabbas that have come out more recently. I mean, even what it lacks in sculpting in some areas compared to more modern action figure sculpting, for me, it makes up for in nostalgia. When this playset came out, I was 7 years old, and I had hours of fun playing for this. I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, because I know it's cool to say, well, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film. But in my opinion, it's Return of the Jedi. I know people will hate on me for that, but like I said, when Return of the Jedi came out, I was 7 years old, so I was kind of really the target audience for Return of the Jedi. And one of the reasons I loved it so much was because Jabba the Hutt here was just, like nothing you'd ever seen before in a movie. Just kind of was so alien. And even the Ewoks, I loved the Ewoks at the time. Me and my friends would go to my local park, we'd climb trees, pretend to be Ewoks, which is embarrassing to say now, but I know including the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi is kind of the bone that people pick most at it. But for my age group at that time, 7 years old, they served a purpose for us. We loved them. So Jabba here, obviously on his throne here, comes with this Salacious Crumb, his little pet / sidekick. Probably out of all the sculpting in this set, it's probably Salacious here that lets it down the most. It's probably the most naive part. Not terrible, but I don't think there's the same level of detail that we have in Jabba himself. I don't think we see that in Salacious here. Also have Jabba's hookah and armrest, which of course is detachable. My poor Jabba here has actually lost the tip of two of his fingers there, but like I said, he's 27 years old, and as much as I played with him, I'm amazed he's in as good a condition as he is. Interestingly, he only has 3 digits on this hand, 4 digits on his left hand. I'd have to look at the movie now, because looking at my other Jabbas, they all have equal digits on each hand, so I'll have to check out the movie to see what the accuracy is there. So Jabba comes off this platform, and this is part of the play feature here, in that it obviously, these doors open. Obviously it recreates the Rancor pit. You can stuff your Star Wars action figures in there. And I always love the detail on the floor of this base here. You can see all the kind of skeletal parts of the Rancor's victims and other little rats and lizard type creatures, which I guess are kind of feeding on the remains of victims. So that's one play feature which made this set a must-have. Also has this kind of collar here where you could connect to the arms or legs or neck of Star Wars figures. I mean, unfortunately we never got a slave Leia until much later, when Star Wars figures were relaunched. So a lot of fun here in this set, and although it's not accurate having the Jabba be sitting on the Rancor pit, but Kenner at the time did a really good job of encapsulating all the action that happened in Jabba's palace in the movie in this one set. Making something that was very attractive to kids at the time. And like I said, 27 years later, I think even, disregarding my nostalgia for this set, it still, stands up there. It's looking good. Looking good, Jabba. And now we flash forward 14 years to 1997 to our second Jabba the Hutt here. This is Jabba as he appeared in the scene which was reinserted into Star Wars A New Hope, the first of the original trilogy. And this is probably the easiest Jabba in terms of price and plentitude to pick up on eBay, largely because, well, I'm not going to lie, he looks like crap. And that's probably no fault of toy makers, the sculptors there. It's just, if you've seen the scene that was reinserted into A New Hope, I mean, we kind of marvel at CGI, but Jabba looked like shit in that movie, didn't he? I mean, I know since then they've gone back and redone the CGI of Jabba in that scene where he confronts Han Solo at the Millennium Falcon dock, but still, sometimes you can't beat straight up old school sculpting and 12 tons of Jabba the Hutt in latex form, or however many tons of latex went into making him. And of course, different to the original Jabba is that he is a front-facing figure, which is how he appeared. He kind of, in the movie, waddled to confront Han Solo, whereas obviously the original figure as he sat on the throne is kind of side-facing. So developments in the 14-15 years that passed between these two, we do have some kind of paint application to the front, but still kind of following on from this Jabba, this one does still have the kind of inset translucent-ish eyes, which all later Jabbas than this one no longer had. And this figure came with the Han Solo figure, so you could recreate that scene from Star Wars, the special edition. But it was great seeing Star Wars back on the big screen in 1997. I do actually remember it was released on my birthday that year, March 21st, and I actually rounded up a group of friends and went to see it on the day it came out as a kind of special birthday celebration for myself. But in hindsight, I mean, unless CGI is done really well, I'm all about, old-fashioned animatronics and puppets and that kind of thing. I prefer a kind of physical presence, and Jabba in the Star Wars Special Edition just did not live up to expectations. And these two figures do share the same articulation. Obviously the arms articulate in both of them, but also I turn the original Jabba to the side. If you moved his head, he had a tail whipping action similar to this Jabba here. If I move his head, Jabba waddles off. And flash forwarding to 1999 and Star Wars Episode 1. I know, people, dark times, my friends. And Episode 1 saw the release of two Jabba the Hutts. There was Jabba Glob, which was a soft, squishy, rubbery Jabba, which you could fit a jar of slime inside of, press down on his head, and he oozed slime from his mouth. I actually used to own that Jabba. I've since sold him, but the slime oozing actually sounds a lot more fun than it is in practice. And second up is this Jabba here, which is taken straight out of Episode 1. Now I believe the play feature this has mimics the scene in Episode 1. Basically I tried to remember as little from Episode 1 as possible, but basically this little creature that Jabba is holding fits into Jabba's mouth. Basically that creature's head becomes a projectile which he fires at this gong here. Now if memory serves, I believe that's how Jabba starts the pod race. So I'll move these back. I will try and get this action going and to recreate that scene for you. Basically what needs to happen is if you raise Jabba's arm up, let's see if we can aim the projectile there at the gong. So basically Jabba's arm, now it's raised up, becomes a trigger for the firing mechanism. So let's see if we can get this to fire. Yay! It fired in one. Even though I'm pretty much at like point blank range, I still consider that quite the achievement. Pat me on the back now, please. It's a nice little play feature. I mean, what it does leave is when you don't have the missile in his mouth, it does leave Jabba with this weird kind of gaping mouth with a hole in it. But this is probably one more for the kids when Episode 1 came out as opposed to collectors. It's actually hard plastic, this kind of torso part. The remainder of Jabba is a soft rubber. And this is actually the biggest Jabba the Hutt, kind of tallest and longest. Next up is Jabba the Hutt from the Star Wars Saga collection. A good looking figure, great accessories, great sculpt. There's a level of paint app to it. It's only really let down by the fact that it didn't come with the stone throne, so the armrest is just freestanding. There is actually a hole where you insert Jabba's hookah into, like the original Jabba. And I'm all about paint apps on figures, but something the paint app does here is that if you move Jabba to front facing, which is kind of the nature of his movement, as we found out in the special edition, the paint app no longer matches up. But other than that, If I bring the camera in closer, you will see there's some really great sculpting to the face there. Like I said, after the special edition 1997 Jabba, they started painting the eyes, which I think is a much better idea than the kind of translucent kind of eyes that they had. And I like the paint app on the mouth there with a kind of slime oozing. It's all slimed up, ready to give Princess Leia a lick. So this is probably, you know, one of the better for sure sculpted. It does come with this little critter. Some kind of Tatooine vermin for Jabba to feed himself there. And interestingly, Jabba comes with this removable tongue, if I can get that in. As I said, ready to lick Leia. It's a great idea. And that feature is actually unique to this Jabba. And it's nice that you can remove it, yet it doesn't look, it not being there still doesn't look out of place. So you've got a couple of different display options there. So that's Saga Collection Jabba. And next up is probably the most distinct of the Jabba the Hutt figures, as it's from the 2009 Clone Wars animated series. So it does features a distinct animated look, which I enjoy actually. I like the look of this Jabba. It's very different to how we've seen Jabba in the movies. Another front-facing Jabba, so like I said, if you articulate him to the side, as we often see him in Return of the Jedi, for instance, the paint application no longer matches up. But that's only really a small criticism. I do really like the sculpting here. I like the tail here. I think has the best tail of Jabba, in that there's a definite kind of weight to it. It kind of looks like it's sat on the ground. It's also the most articulated Jabba. The arms here have articulation at the shoulders, elbows and wrists. Also this Jabba, his jaw does move, which is kind of fun. Can recreate a
He's no Jedi.
This Jabba does come with the same armrest as the Saga Collection one. The only difference is that with his hands, he is actually able to hold the hookah pipe, which is cool. But there is no hole in his mouth for the hookah pipe to actually be inserted into. Moving on to two curios now, really, as opposed to action figures. The first one here, this Jabba, is actually a Burger King kids meal toy, and he is actually a water squirter. Squirts water out of his mouth, which is a bit more feasible than they had characters like Darth Vader in this Burger King series, which squirted water. Not sure why. That's the Burger King Jabba. And then here, this is the Galactic Heroes Jabba the Hutt. This was available in a set with various other characters. I think Max Rebo, Droopy McCall, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker and Boba the Fett. It's a cute looking little Jabba, isn't it? Features all the same articulation as the kind of larger Jabba the Hutt figures for the most part. It also features there, as you can quite see it, the tattoo on his arm, which Jabba is known for. I'm a big fan of this little guy. He's very cute. Kind of posed alongside a regular Jabba. He kind of looks like Jabba's little baby son. Aww. Daddy loves you. And now the grand finale. As I said, we had to wait 27 years until we got another Jabba's throne room playset, and here it is. This was actually an exclusive with Walmart in the US, but if you're watching this in the UK and fancy grabbing yourself some Jabba, this is available on play.com right now, and I think it's priced at £34.99, which is probably the equivalent of what it retailed at Walmart in the US as. So don't pay crazy eBay.com prices. Grab it on play.com, free shipping as well. I'm going to open this bad boy up and give you my first impressions of him. Jabba with posable tail. Includes dancing girl. Oola! So here's the Jabba set all set up, and it's looking great. One feature that it does have, which is movie accurate, is that the throne is on wheels and rolls forward, which of course happens in the movie when Jabba drops his victims into the Rancor pit. His throne rolls forward so he can get a good look at the action. First off, let's take a look at Salacious Crumb, which is a definite improvement on the his older version there. A lot more detail. It does have articulation in the legs, that little Salacious Crumb. I've just nested him on a pillow there. Jabba's arms do have articulation at the shoulder and the elbow there. Unfortunately, there's no hole to insert the hookah pipe into his mouth. I guess maybe you could wedge that in there and keep it in. And you get all these throw cushions, which is nice. You can tuck them under Jabba so he looks like he's resting on them, being the pimpin' intergalactic gangster that he is. And of course comes with Oola, the slave girl. She's lounging there. No idea that at some point she'll be fed to the Rancor monster. There's the set in total. Looks great. There's a comparison there of the two most recent movie accurate Jabba the Hutts, and you can see there that the sculpting on the most recent one is definitely superior. Just take him out, put in the original Jabba the Hutt figure. There's a comparison there. Like I said, for 27 years old, the sculpting here isn't too embarrassing compared to a kind of modern sculpt from last year. But beyond the face, torso and arms, this is a hard plastic where his body is a soft rubber, and I would have preferred just a hard plastic body and tail. They've made it rubber to allow for this tail bending action, which the package trumpeted like it was the best thing since sliced bread. But honestly, there is a wire in the tail which allows it to be posed, but I don't think it works particularly well. If I just bend that for you, you can kind of see that I mean, that just does not look good and doesn't look like the body has any kind of weight to it, really. So it only really looks good when it's stretched out full length. It's a nice idea. It just kind of probably looks better on paper than it does finished. I think probably maybe the rubber skin isn't quite thick enough to give it weight, but I mean, that just looks terrible. But other than that, I mean, I'll certainly be posing him with the wire straightened out, but I'd have personally preferred a hard plastic tail and body, because it kind of looks very disjointed between the two elements of his torso there. But like I said, it's definitely the most complete set. perhaps if we mixed all my Jabbas into one big melting pot, we would come up with the perfect Jabba the Hutt. But personally speaking, as an action figure customizer, we live for imperfect figures because that just encourages us to be creative, break out the epoxy sculpt and paint and weave our magic.